Alright, let's get started. Last time we talked a lot about getting the backend set up with PayloadCMS, so that's all set up as far as like I want it to be anyway. So now it's time to start getting some stuff up on the back or the front end. So I talked a little bit about doing Tailwind and trying that out. So I think we'll dive into that. We'll do some Tailwind CSS with the front end we're gonna do. I've got some ideas that we'll do with it. And so I haven't used Tailwind before, so I'm excited to give that a shot, and we'll see how it goes. And I don't think it'll be that big of an issue, though. It shouldn't be too difficult to get involved with. And so one other thing that I did do is, I can go ahead and start here. Last time I also had troubles getting my thumbnails to show up properly, so I figured out the problem was that the bucket wasn't set up properly, so I didn't set up in Cloudflare the custom domain for this. So I am going to check to make sure that that's working, and hopefully my computer can actually handle this time. Because as you guys know, Next can kind of be a pain to deal with, and a RAM hog for sure. So let's come down here and do local host. Oh, I need to do admin. So let that load up. It's compiling, so shouldn't take too long. But we are starting from very cold. So as that's going, I'm gonna pull up the docs for Tailwind. So I was messing with this a little bit earlier. I did not actually do a whole lot with it, but TailwindCSS is just utility first. You can read CSS framework. So I wanted to give this a shot because while I think I'm okay at CSS, I can spend too much time sometimes just doing stuff that doesn't actually really matter. So we're gonna go to the framework guides under Get Started, and they have a NextJS one, so I'm going to go to that. And so we won't need to create a new project. We just need to install Tailwind CSS, configure the template paths, and then adding directives to the CSS. And so we haven't done anything with CSS yet, so we'll be able to delete whatever's already in there and then just start building from there. So it should be a pretty simple setup. Let's figure out what's going on here, because this is not loading quite yet, but it looks like it's still trying to compile the home route. So, oops. So let's go ahead and try run dev again. Okay, and then let's go to admin. And as always, it looks like my machine's running a little slow on this. I do need to get a new laptop. This is a struggle. Let's see what we get here. Yep, so it's compiling the admin dashboard, which is what we wanted to see. Hopefully I have enough battery to make it through this. If not, I'm gonna have to run and go get some cables to make sure I can actually charge my laptop. But ideally, as soon as this loads up the first time, it should be pretty smooth after that. Alright, still loading. While we're thinking through this, we already have Cloudflare set up, so we're good there. Nothing else really to do with that. So Man, this is rough. I'm gonna move my terminal over to a different screen and just leave the Chrome browser active. I like to see when the console goes so I can see that stuff is actually happening, but I'm wondering if having the terminal on top of the active screen is messing some stuff up. So we'll take, oh, yep, there you go. Compiled in 132 seconds. It's a long time to be rendering, like what, 2 whole minutes to actually compile that. Yeah, so this is, I come from Flask, so I understand a little bit more of, well, I guess less of the speed issues that Next has, or at least in development. So it's going through all of its errors and stuff. I don't have an email update or an email service provider thing going. There's also some mapping that's still not quite right, so all of that will come back. So the thing that I wanted to show you though, as soon as it comes up, will be to make sure that the thumbnails are working and that the images that we put in are working as well. All right, we're making it. Yeah, I'm not convinced that I will have enough battery for this. And I'm already getting errors on YouTube that not a lot of video is being sent. So hopefully it's not buffering too bad, but I am recording this, so I'll be able to edit parts of this out to be more useful when actually online. But yeah, this happened the last time too, when it just took a long time for it to load up, but then it flew afterwards. I just don't know why starting it the first time is so rough. Another minute of compiling time. I guess 78 seconds, so almost a minute and a half. Oh, that's right. All of that work just to, this is not even the right, I don't remember what it is. It's some dev. Hopefully this doesn't take a long time to load up. Oh, it's payload config. This drives me crazy sometimes. So here's the remote pattern that I needed to set up for the images. And not like that's private or anything. You could go to any website and see where they're serving images from. So I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, all you have to do is look at the dev tools and it'll show you everything that you need to know there. Alright, so we have dev at PayloadCMS. And then password is test. Let's see if this actually works quickly now. No luck on it being quick, but at least I know it'll be the correct password when it gets up. I will not change my password. Don't need to. There we go. Alright, so now we can go, let's look at our media bucket here. Alright, there we go. So we can see the previews now. That's all I really wanted to show you here. So we're actually going to come out now because we don't necessarily want the terminal running while we're editing code. So I just went over to the terminal and killed the process. So now what we're going to do is, I don't know if I have Tailwind installed on this, but what we need to do is, it does not really play nice with the styles.c or SCSS. So I've been using the Sass compiler for CSS for a while. I like it. I like the flexibility of it, but honestly, I spend way too much time doing CSS. So I'm actually just going to delete this and not even worry about it. But that does mean, so I'll delete that anyway. I need to come into the app folder, which, if you've done a payload install, you know that there's the source, and then there's the overall app, and then there's an app grouping, and then a payload grouping. So I'm in the app grouping, and I'm just going to do a global.css. And so this is just recommended by NextJS. So let's take a look here. So we'll just taking a quick note. All right, so now when the global.css is created, we're going to go to our layout and import it. So we don't need this one anymore because I just deleted that. And I can do so much to delete from an old project. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. We're going to come all the way down here, delete all that. We don't need this. And we don't, oh, that's the footer. So there's going to be a lot that we need to adjust here. But all right, so we can delete that as well. We got our cached globals, and we're going to do import, which is all I wanted to do anyway, is do import. We should just do global.css. So I don't know what happened to our footer component, but that's gone. So I'm just gonna, just so if I go over here to actually start this, I want it to work. So let's go. So I think I can do, hopefully, well, I just need one RSS feed. So ideally I can just do that to make it happy. And then I don't have logos set yet, but I can leave these here because it's not going to affect anything. And then this is a different client's font, so I'm going to get rid of that. And so now I have my global CSS imported, and then when I start things, it should just work right away. And so now we can go over to our Tailwind and let's install. So I'm using PNPM for package management, so I'm going to just copy from my iPad and paste over here. I'm sure I could run these both at the same time, but I'm not going to risk that. I'm going to run PNPM add. Let that run. There we go. Still loading. All right, and now once that's done, we can do the other half of that, which is NPX, which I will allow that. So delete all of this. Bring that up to the top line. Let Tailwind install and make the config files that I need. I'm going to come all the way down here for when the CSS file or the Tailwind config file is actually generated. There it is. And then, oh, sharing the wrong screen again. So I'm going to copy the, well, let me show you. So I got to go back. All right. So first I'm going to go here. All right. So adding my screen in, we'll then go, we created our global CSS and then we imported it there. And then now we need to go using PNPM. We're gonna add with a hyphen capital D Tailwind CSS post CSS auto prefixer. When you run that, it'll work through all of its dependencies and then we're good. And then we need to generate our post CSS and Tailwind config files. And I can do that by doing npx tailwind CSS init -p. And then now I'm going to run over to my iPad. And so this is the Tailwind docs. I'm going to copy the template paths. And then we'll go back over to the Tailwind config. I'm just going to select all and then paste. I'm going to leave all of this. It doesn't hurt to have it, so all of that is there, and we're good to go. Back over to the docs. We now see that we have to add the Tailwind directives to the CSS. So again, I'm just going to copy that and then go over to our config, not our config, our global CSS, and add those directives there. And so now when I build, or when I run my development server, it will allow me to start using Tailwind. And so let's get to work on some of that. So what we'll do is we'll start from all of these components that are these blocks that we set up before. And so we have our card section, our client logos, etc. So what we need though is if we go to our page, which is what we created our home page. So we'll start there. And there's a lot of this stuff that we're not going to need. So I'm going to leave show blocks in. We're not going to need hero because we're going to be making a new one. We're not going to, we'll leave add image. We will need key from React, I'm sure of it. Now, why aren't these working? So, it's not a module, so I'll figure all that stuff out. All right, so we will need this metadata. We'll need to get payload. We'll need the config promise. We'll need HMR. We can leave global setting for now and get cached global. And so I'm just going to go through here. And so this is initializing payload, which we'll need in a second. We don't need any of these queries here because all of this is from a previous client. And so, we'll keep fetch page because we will need that. And I'll go through each of those steps as well. And so this is the home page, which means I can just do where, we'll come back to this because I'm gonna walk through it. All right, and so we will eventually need metadata, so I'm just going to, for now, I think I can just have this return null, so I'm gonna do that. And I have my own custom metadata, I guess parser would be the word for it, but we will work on that a little bit later. We're very far from being able to start optimizing this. So return null. All right, now we can get our page. Really, we don't need this anymore. That's boilerplate. I'll leave it. We won't need it. Return null. All right, so null's not going to work there, so I'll just do that. And now we can, just for now, I'm going to get rid of schema. Well, I guess I can keep that because that's going to come in from the content that we create. So that means that that can stay. And we're just going to focus on blocks for now. So we will have the page layout if it's not undefined. So if we have a defined page layout, we will map out all the blocks, which can be of any type. And this is where key comes in. So we'll loop through, or not even loop through, we'll just go through all of the, I guess we are looping through. So we're going to loop through the page layout and see all of the blocks. So now though, we need to fetch our page. So that's where I love Payload because they do have a local API. So we're going to fetch our page by awaiting Payload. And we're going to find in the collection pages, we're going to take only one where the slug is home. So this is the home route. Let's see why this didn't work. All right, so we'll take a look at that in a second. So why didn't my query work? All right, so and then we'll just have a default depth of 1. So if I do slug, nope, where I do this, okay, so I don't know why slug doesn't show up here. So what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna undo a bunch of stuff real quick because I want to see where this query came from. It's never easy, is it? I always got to make things difficult for myself. So where is the query? That's right. Okay. It's just because I'm a dummy, that's all. No biggie. Alright, so let's fast forward here. Get rid of that. So we're back to fetching our page from pages. We're going to take one, and then I'll still get it back to where it was, depth. Alright, and so the problem was, it's where slug equals home. So I just didn't drill far enough into what this is supposed to look like. So now we have our initialized payload, and we're going to use payload to find from the collection of pages the slug that equals home. And so if you remember, that's what the slug was for the page that I created. And so that should be good to go. And so now there's probably not something called layout for that. So I don't remember what I call it now. I think it's just content. It is indeed content. And so I have to remember how all this is set up. So I may actually just do, let's actually do something like this real quick. So we've got our home page. We're going to take a look and see what page content looks like. So we're going to log page content. So I think oh wait, okay, perfect. So now let's just get rid of anything that's I think going to throw an error, which is going to be this and this. So now I'm going to go back over to the terminal, and we're going to do pm run dev, and then we're going to come over here and try to look at the home page. I am going to have to go get my charger. It's unfortunate, but gotta do what you gotta do. So we'll wait a second though. Alright, let this load up, and then we can load up the terminal, because this is likely not going to show us anything on the front end. But we should be able to see the API call, which is what I'm looking for. So, okay, don't know what that means right now. But so we can see here what the API call looks like. So it's returning for slug home. We have our hero, we have our content, we have our metadata, which is from the SEO plugin. Then we have that's the description as part of the meta. So then we have our page status published, and then all of that. So we're good here. So now we can actually use this to help inform how we build our front end. So I'm going to pull up PyCharm again, get the doc out of the way. So now, let's actually be a little bit more specific here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find in our content, which we have page content. I don't even know why I did it this way previously, but then I can do content and then content again. And then I could map it so it'd be easier to read, but I think I'll just do, I'll do this so I can see all the blocks that we're using. And I'm going to go get my charger while this runs, and then I'll be right back. All right, I am back. So let's see if this actually worked, because it looks like, I don't know. Yep, here we go. So here we have all the blocks that it returned. So I don't know why this is doing the red underline thing, but that's all right. So now this is really what I need for the page content. So I can create a new constant and just do maybe like page blocks. Page blocks that equal page content dot content. And then we can come down here, go to our show blocks. Instead of page layout, we'll do, what we call it, page blocks. I guess I can do this, but oops. So let's go ahead and get rid of this for now, since I'm not really returning anything. Yeah, I really don't know what this is trying to tell me. There we go. Okay. Weird, but all right. So right now, show blocks doesn't seem to be working right. So if I go up here, let's go ahead and put that as a comment so it doesn't run into any issues. It doesn't seem to let me want to click into show blocks. So, oh, it did. Oh, it's because everything, I guess, is commented out. So, we know we have, let's start with our content, no media. That's the easiest. So, we have that one. And actually, we can just uncomment everything, which that's just going to double the comments. I know. Okay. So I don't have a text array. Can get rid of that. We do have content, no media. We're going to leave this here because I might want to add a place for a blog feed to be added. So I'll leave that just in case I do want to do that. Content with media. We have our block type, which is what we're looking at. Content, no media, and then we have content with media, which means I don't need this one. And then we'll do our card section, which we have a couple. Then we have CTA, which I don't think I included. That's fine. Content with media background. We're trying to combine that into the just the content with media. We don't have a connect section. We do have content with map. And then I need to just add content no media is not what I'm looking at. Content with media, card section, content no media, content with media, card, and card. There is more. I don't know why they're not showing up because I thought we put in like FAQ and all that. So we're not going to worry about it yet because I do need to add those, but this is fine for now. And so if we start with content no media, it's going to take, let's go ahead and get rid of that. Well, let's just comment it out for now. Dang it. Comment that. And then our feed to add down here, just so we don't get any errors. And so I have no idea what this is going to look like, but if I save that, shouldn't be any errors there, shouldn't be any errors here. Correct. And then if I go over to the browser, refresh, we may actually see something. I don't actually know though. Oh, I need to figure out what that is. What's the navigation? So I'm going to go back to layout and just cut out the nav for now. Alright, so let's go ahead and give that another shot. So if this does render, it's going to look like crap because there's no CSS styling. Alright, still compiling, but at least the battery is not going to die. At least I hope not. It has not gone up too much after I plugged it in. What's this error that I'm seeing? Oh, it's the same one, it just hasn't loaded yet. Sure is taking its time, isn't it? honestly starting to wonder if it's JetBrains and PyCharm that's taken up all of the memory here, and because of that it's making it difficult. Alright, so content with media. Oh, that's right, so it's looking like it is trying to render stuff. Place all. I don't want to deal with all that right now, which is what I was trying to avoid. So let's go on over to our show blocks and just get rid of, no wait, I need content, no media. Just get rid of anything other than content, no media. Alright, let's give that a shot, shall we? We're not going to have text or background, so let's go ahead and set these to potentially undefined. And set them as empty strings for now. So go ahead and save that and see what happens again. Yeah, so I'm wondering if maybe Visual Studio Code might be, that's even what it's called. What is it called? Yeah, Visual Studio Code. I wonder if that's going to be a better option, if it doesn't take up nearly as much RAM, especially when I'm trying to do a bunch of different stuff at the same time. It is also my machine. There's 8 gigs of RAM on this thing, so it'll be better once a new one comes in. Because this is so slow. I know I'm definitely not selling NextJS by showing it off like this, because there's not really much to show off when I'm doing it this way. Alright, we're still loading. And so while this is loading, let's go on over to my iPad. And so the reason I want to use Tailwind is not just because it's popular and I should probably learn it, but I do like that it's not Bootstrap, first of all. Don't love Bootstrap, but I can actually do some animations, which I wanted to try with the new-ish Next.js tool with partial pre-rendering. So they've got this pulse that I like that can be used, or I mean like the spin can also be used for it, but we can do this nice little gentle pulsing for a loading, like a skeleton, which is very nice. There's also like bouncing and, oh, there's a preferred reduced motion, and so that's another reason why I'm looking forward to getting into Tailwind, because it has some accessibility things that I like that I don't want to implement on my own. And I've not actually done anything with dark mode yet, so I wonder how they have this written out. Alright, so dark. Not too difficult. But it does look like I don't know if it automatically sets the contrast differently on the dark mode. But I guess that's for us to figure out later. Alright, so nice. We finally have a rendered something. So all this is doing, if I go to my content no media block, which we need to anyway, because we're going to apply some styles eventually. We can come in here and we, like I said, don't need background color or text color. We don't, again, this is just the TypeScript part, so I'm going to delete all of those. I'm going to get rid of background and color. we actually don't need any of this. So I'm going to go ahead and really for now delete class. I'll leave class name. But we can get rid of this one. And get rid of the text color. Content showed up, and I don't know if I even had buttons, so I won't worry about that right now. But we got our button container and our buttons, and then I have this SVG wave, but I'm not going to do that for now, so let's go ahead and get rid of that as well. So all of those changes should bring it back to be its normal boring self, and we have our container, and then we have, I don't really know why I have it as a separate div when I can just have this section here. So let's do that. Get rid of that div and just have the section. So now we can save, and I hesitate to refresh this because I don't really know how long it's going to take to do this again. And this is still overloading, so again, I hope it's not buffering too much on the other side, but what can you do? And so again, while this is loading, let's go over to iPad with face. And so I want to start looking at like background. Well, really, so I want to look at, like, how do I change my own colors? So if I want to adding custom styles, is that what I'm looking for? Yes, it is. All right. So let's see. Perfect. So the front end did load like I wanted it to. And so we are going to come back and look at all of these different custom things because I do have a colors palette that I want to do. But first we can actually just start getting some styles going. And so I'm going to put this down in the bottom and hopefully let it load as we go. And so I'm just going to get rid of all of these styles, which I should have done in the first place, and just do, let's say, so ideally Tailwind is already installed, but I can do background. Here, I actually really want to see if VS Code is going to be better than this. So I'm going to go ahead and save this file, and then let's quit out of PyCharm. And then we can open up, yes, confirm exit. And so I haven't used Visual Studio Code a whole lot. I do know it's popular. I know it's free. Free is good. All right, so while this is loading back up, so we'll worry about custom styles later. And so we're gonna want to do a background color, which should just be, did I not? Yeah, I do have my iPad, okay. Oh, yep. So let's open, I know you can't really see this. All right, so I can see all of my colors, and these are all the default colors, it looks like. So I like the green, which is what we'll use for now. Alright, so we'll open recent. Really, I can open folder. And hopefully I can just type Tailwind in here as well. Let's see what we got here. I don't actually know where this is, so I'll share my screen here in a second again as soon as I find where this file is. Here we go. All right. So let's go ahead and trust the authors here. And then let's get back to where I need it to be, which is going to be in our components, I believe. Nope, blocks, because this is, sorry, app, then blocks. And then we're going to go to content, no media, and do index. And so this is already moving way faster, so I'm okay with this. Let's go ahead and get rid of that class name. Don't need to get rid of that, and we can go through serialize lexical later. Only got about 10 more minutes that I want to be working on this, so we will work with what we have. And so if I start typing and I want to do the background color for this is going to be, dang, let's see if there's an easy plugin to find, or I guess an extension. We'll do TailwindCSS. There we go. We'll go ahead and install this. Alright, so now if we go to our actual file, should be able to type in BG. We'll just do green. There we go, green. And we'll do 300 should be perfect. So we'll do that, and then we can do padding. We'll do 3, and then we can not do any margins. So when we do that, it should update over there eventually. So we'll keep going with it though, because we'll want to add some more styles. Oh, which actually we need to just do. Alright, so it looks like it got rid of quite a few things. Alright, so if I go to the header, we can do, alright, so we're creating an H2, it doesn't have a class name, so we can add heading tag. What am I creating? Oh, with the header text. Okay. So here, what we need to do is that's creating the header. Let's just do I don't actually know what font size is, so let's take a look at that in the docs. So we'll come over here to the iPad. So again, this is the first time I'm using Tailwind at all, so let's do font size. We want to do, let's set heading tag class name to do text extra large. Alright, so I'm really actually enjoying VS Code right now. It's going a lot faster. Alright, so once that header gets big again, or once it loads, we'll be good. And then we won't do anything, well, we can do something with the content. We can do, instead of this black color, we can do BG green, and I think 950 is the darkest, and that should be black enough. And we'll do the same for this div down here. So I don't know why, but this does not look like an H2 to me. I also don't know if it is an H2. Oh, I didn't mean to do background. Yeah, so it is an H2. I don't know why it, yeah, I don't know what's going on there. So we'll take a look at that in a second. So instead of BG green, I want, oh, you can't see anything anyway. So here I need, oops, we need text color. And we can do, instead of BG, we can just do text, and then text. And that should update those. Then coming over to the header, I also want this to be, say, bold. Which is it? Font weight, bold, font, bold. Yes, there we go. So now that should make it look a little bit more like an H2. At least it's bolded. And so we'll take a look at why our H2, you still can't see it. Dang it, man. I'm really bad at this. All right, there we go. So now you can see we've got bold over there and then just a little bit of content there. And so that's really how this renders and how it's going to render, which is all good with me. So now if we actually go over to our local host and then do admin, I don't really like this green that we're at right now, so I'm going to come over here to the index and then change it to, I think 200 is probably better. Make it a little more pale. And if we go over to our admin panel, it's still loading. So we'll let this keep going. We don't have any buttons to look at yet, so I think I'll actually add buttons as well and see if that works. And then if we come up here, I can actually look at how the data is and find content, no media. Yeah, there are no buttons. We have some content, and it does have include divider, which means we want to, at the bottom, I guess right here is probably the best place. We can do, let's see, I guess we'll have to do it this way. Include divider, and then include divider, and then do a boolean. And then now I can do include divider, and then do just a horizontal rule. It's fine. But that does mean that I need to go up to our blocks, our show blocks, which I don't really know where that is, so show blocks. This will at least help me. I don't need to look at the trace. Here we go. So that'll bring me there. Again, don't need all of this. And so what we can do is include divider, and that will equal blocks dot include divider. And since it's optional, we'll set a default to be false. Alright, so what do we have here? Alright, so we go to our pages. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more text and then buttons. And then get those rendered on the front end and then call it quits there. As soon as it loads. I know I'm asking it to do a lot now. But yeah, this is, so VS Code is going to be what I do from now on. Instead of having to wait for PyCharm to also work, I can just let it do its thing while the browser does its thing. So there's this, go to home, let it load up, go to our content, perfect. Content, no media, we'll add just one button, and we'll just do test button with this as its link, and we'll do open a new tab and is primary. And so I want to say that this is more than just a little text. This is a whole lot of text that I will also format with gusto. And so we'll do that. So I'm showing you this because I can add links and such. Let's see, can I just do the home page? Yes, I can. Hit save changes there. And so this is going to do quite a few things, and I'll be able to walk through a little bit more of what I just did as we continue to build. But now I can just save, let that update, and then come here and reload. And now I can see that I have some bold, I have some underline, bold, italics, underline, bold, and then this link here. But the link is kind of hidden, so we got to work through that as well. So what we can do now, I guess we can go into the serialized lexical thing, because what this is going to do is it's really going to set all of, gotta get rid of this. This is how lexical, which is what I'm using as my WYSIWYG editor, this is how it knows what to do with that data. So we have that link that needs to look more like a link, so I can go all the way down and find my link type custom, link type internal. So this is what I'm working with. And I don't see anything that has a class name here, so we'll go ahead and add one. So I'm going to do class name, and instead of, let's try this. So let's do a BG, and we'll just do white, and then we'll do, well, that should work. So it should just highlight gusto in white once it reloads. At least I can be hopeful. It might work. Alright, just letting it load. Doing all of its updates. You can see that in the background as that's going, and then you can see it highlighted it in white. And so that's not actually what we would do for this, but that'll work for now. So I can do the same thing with all of this different, this isn't important, all of the different methods within lexical, each can have its own styles as well. So exciting stuff there. Now we'll want to go to our buttons. We have a button container that can stay how it is right now, but when I load up buttons, which should work, don't need this and don't need this one at all. And so I have any link that's internal, which localhost, I'll typically include as a self, so it would just not open in a new tab, it would just open in the same window. That's just a design choice on my end. That's what I like to do. Obviously, do your own thing. Don't worry too much about what I'm doing here. Alright, and so we have buttons, we have button primary. So let's see what Tailwind has to say about buttons, because I know Bootstrap is pretty opinionated about it, but I can do application UI buttons. Alright, don't know why that happened. Alright, so here are buttons that they say. Let's just go with the primary buttons here. So I'm going to hit get the code. Oof. So that's how they make their money. Good to know. So I'm not going to do any of this, which means then we just have to design our own. No biggie. So we're going to go back over here, and this will kind of be the last thing that I think we do. So we've got our class name, and we're going to do, we need something separate from both. So we don't need classes dot button. We can get rid of that. So if it's primary, we need a primary. If it's primary, what we'll do, let's look at Tailwind. We'll do BG, we'll do green, we'll do 900, we'll do text, green, we'll say 200, hopefully that contrast will work, and then we'll do padding, we'll do 5, and then we can do rounded full to get the pill kind of feel, and then if it's secondary, just so we can see how this is going to look, we'll flip these, do 200, and then this can actually be 950 to be consistent, and then rounded full for that, but there's not going to be a secondary one. This one is a primary button. So once it updates, we should see this button turn into something else. So let's go ahead and refresh, kick it along a little faster. I may need to change the padding because it's going to be equal sides, or equal on all sides. Yeah, so that's a little bit big. So it did what I wanted it to do. So let's do, we can keep px as 5. Let's do py as just 1 and do the same thing over here. And go ahead and refresh. Let it continue to do its thing. It's wild to me how long this takes. I'm really not used to it taking this long. I know I'm asking the computer to do a lot, but I never had to wait this long for anything with Flask to work. No. And then sometimes I get a random 404 even though nothing changed. Let's go ahead and, whoops, don't know what happened there. There we go, so there's the button. Alright, so now in our button container, we can get rid of this class name and just do all that. Let's do a margin Y of 2. And then as that's loading, let's actually add to our button. We'll do hover. No, I gotta fix that too, but you can do hover, BG, green, 200, and I guess I have to do hover again, BG, or text, green, 900, and I don't think I need to do let's go look back over at the docs. So if I want to do hover state, maybe Command K. Okay, let's do hover. So it has active. Now, does it have anything for timing? Media, feature, queries, attribute selectors, advanced topics, use it with your own classes. Stacked modifier is not what I'm looking for. So it does not look like there is anything like that. So let's go back over to screen. And then if I go to button container, I need to do flex, justify center. Then I don't need a gap, but I will include a gap. And then save all of those. And then if I refresh, ideally the button should go into the center, and then I should have some hover styles. And then from there we will end this stream. And then we can pick it up more again, probably tomorrow, and adjust the rest of the blocks. Now that I know that Visual Studio Code, VS Code, is going to work a lot better than PyCharm for what I'm trying to do. But yes, now we can see we have our button centered, and then I do not see hover styles, but maybe that is my fault. No, it should be. So we have our hover background green. So what happens if I force the hover state? Did I do something wrong? Hover. Background green, text green. Yeah, so that should be fine. So why then aren't you hovering? Very weird, but I'm honestly not going to be too worried about it. So if I do hover, at least that worked. Hover background green, 200 hover. Alright, so don't really know what's happening here. Style elements on hover active, using modifiers, which I have done all of that. Class, we have hover, BG green. Here, let's try just one more refresh. Maybe it didn't, well, I see it there, so I don't understand what's happening. So, very interesting that that didn't just work. But if I do hover, then I can do animate spin and see what happens with that. Doesn't look like anything. So something's going on with my hover states here. I don't know what exactly. So maybe let's add it to, just so we have it all the way, we can add it to our secondary, just in case, even though it's very clearly, well, we got to switch this over. I don't think this is going to be the issue. But we'll give it a shot, see what happens. All right. So that's fun. I don't know why it needed to be under both. And so we can just test this one more time just to make sure that the hover state works. And then while that's loading up, let's just take a quick look over here. Oops. To then see animation duration or transition duration. Okay, so then I can set my own duration. So, all right, so let's do that real quick. So we'll do duration, we'll do 200's fine, and then hover, oh actually, so duration should be, I guess 700, and we can do hover duration at 500. So we'll do this, and then I promise we'll call it quits then. Nope. We didn't even see that happening. So what I did is I typed in duration 700, hover duration, just to add, instead of it just going blank in and out, it'll at least change at a slower pace. As soon as it loads, we'll test this any second now. Oh boy. There we go. Okay. That was weird. All right, so we're good. That's working as intended, and so this is not really the final styles. We still need to figure out why this is not really an H2 size. And this is really text block, so I think that's fine. Let's take a look at what the contrast is like.